Hello everybody, it's ImQuick. This is a little build breakdown video for Phoenix and the really extremely broken Ignite build that comes out of this Phoenix build. So we're using Phoenix first of all because you get an extra bit of ignited damage from the Archon, which is nice. It basically doubles your ignite damage whenever you hit your Archon Fury, and it also makes your polarity attacks deal fire damage and inflict ignite, which are literally what this entire build is all about. So you might as well use Phoenix. This build all starts off with the Obsidian Blades or Twin Dragons, anything with a primary that gives polarity attack charge. However, you can get Primal Obsidian Blades that give you way more polarity attack charge per crit, so like 16 to 18% sometimes, I think, on a Primal Obsidian Blades. I don't have any Primals that are fire. I have Primals that are void and earth and air, but I don't have any fire yet with crit chance especially, so I'm sticking with these. But this will basically allow you to have polarity attacks extremely fast at all times. Now the reason that you want to build up polarity is because you're building up soul shatter damage with these obsidian blades, and then when you switch weapons to the retribution greatsword, it will actually soul shatter everything in a circle around you with the polarity attack and immediately proc the greatsword. You don't even have to swing this weapon or use this weapon. In fact, I'd recommend that you don't try most of the time. And this weird primary trait here doesn't explain fully that it is actually also applying an ignite. So there's a hidden little detail about this greatsword. The fire elemental that is summoned whenever you soul shatter an enemy, it actually scales an ignite off of this soul shatter damage dealt. So say it is a small enemy and you barely do 20,000 damage. It will do not a lot of scaling off the soul shatter, but you'll still ignite them. However, if you do a polarity attack and it soul shatters 500,000 soul shatter on a big level 100 boss, then it's going to do millions of damage. And that is where this build kind of meets its practicality, is when you have larger targets that can build up more soul shatter. So smaller enemies can't really have as much soul shatter built up on them as bigger enemies can, so a very large boss with a lot of health is gonna, you can do like 500,000 soul shatter damage, sometimes only like 100,000 or 150, but even if you're at like 50,000, it's so much damage. Let's say you have 500,000 soul shatter damage dealt, and you have 400% fire damage and ignite power. That's already going to be doing over 1,000,000 damage a second, because 50% of the soul shatter damage dealt, which was 500,000, is 250,000 damage. So then all of your ignite power, say it's 400% like I just said, will turn that 250 into well over 1,000,000. And that's where the big numbers come out of this build. You don't need boons to maximize millions of damage a second out of the ignite in this build, because, well, as you're reading right here, it comes straight out of the soul shatter damage dealt, which is really, really high. Like, I'm pretty sure there's no fucking cap for these interactions. It's just as much soul shatter damage as possible, plus as much fire damage and ignite power as possible. And it'll go ridiculously high, even without boons. If you put boons on, then it gets up to like the 22 million fucking...
I'm not even touching.
He's dead! 22 million! Get the fuck out of my house! Fucking millions upon millions in unnecessary damage, but you really don't need the boons. So that's kind of what is going on here for this build. It's you just build up polarity with the obsidian blades, you swap to the retribution, and everything around you that is soul shatter built up on them will create a fire elemental, and it will scale and ignite off of the soul shatter damage. So the ignite that you're applying with your weapons does not do this damage. The ignite that you are applying with your polarity attack does not do this damage. It is only the things that you soul shatter. So if there's no soul shatter and you polarity attack, it's not going to do this. As long as there's at least 20,000, then it will proc. That is how it works. So you only need 20,000 soul shatter to proc this effect. It does not have to kill anything in order to trigger the soul shatter effect because of the cat talisman. And that is the way that this build works. And just apply a bit of soul shatter, switch weapons to the retribution, and it will polarity attack, and the polarity attacks automatically soul shatter everything in a massive AoE, pretty much bigger than this calendar. Like the outside ring of this is kind of like the same range of a polarity attack, so it'll soul shatter everything in a ring around you. And it'll apply that fire elemental to every single enemy hit at once. You don't only summon one ghost, it can summon as many ghosts as there's enemies of soul shatter build up. So just to give you a little like idea of how that works. And remember, this build is very tanky. The way that I have it built right now, I've got 63% resistances on everything except water and earth. So 63% across the board other than water and earth, and the crit chance is sitting at 40. Whenever I prime my shield, that 40% crit chance goes up to 53 because of this ring. When I prime my shield, I get 13% crit chance. So that means that even though my crit chance is at 40% at the moment, it's actually going to be 53 the second I prime my shield. And now I can build up polarity faster while doing soul shatter damage to everything and building up souls to ignite everything. And as you can see, it's pretty effective. It will clear out trash ads very effectively and quickly, and it doesn't take a lot to proc it. However, if you do apply a bunch, like an unnecessary amount of soul shatter, you see, fire elemental does way more damage. And that effect right there can scale into like the millions upon millions upon millions of damage. It's pretty messed up. And it'll do that in just 1 second of ignite. That is how it works. Build up soul shatter while building up polarity attack charge. Once you have a good amount of soul shatter on the boss, switch weapons, and he's dead. There's no cap to this, and I think that's the concerning part, is there is legitimately no cap. It is just soul shatter scaling beyond oblivion to your heart's content. So if you have a bunch of people to set it up, but it really doesn't take long to set it up on your own. Despite people's skepticism about this build, you can do an insane amount of damage extremely fast. You just have to light attack a couple times with the dual blades and then switch weapons. Now, the reason this build is so tanky is because with all of that resistance plus this augment force barrier, you'll basically be allowed to just sit on a boss and basically just spam R1 and light attack. It makes it very, very brainless and easy to be effective with. By using this augment, you just can't be interrupted with dual blades, so you just keep spamming the dual blades, and as long as you have good overhealth regen, like this Void Shell is giving us, then you're basically just never going to get interrupted. You'll just be light attacking permanently, and nothing can really stop you. And then with all of your resistances, the overhealth never goes down, and so forth. So this ring is really important because it gives overhealth gained and all resistances. So does the amulet, overhealth gained and 19% to all resistances, plus cap 3%. So that's also extremely important. That helps survivability so much. Plus it gives us an extra life in case we somehow do get hit all the way down to... So just really high security going on here, plus another Eye of the Dragon with more overhealth gained and more resistances all across the board. So like this is a very, very tanky build, as you can see, and you get all of your damage from Ignite power. So it doesn't really matter having super crazy weapon technique or crit damage or any of the normal things, because all of it isn't really in your stat sheet. It's coming from your Ignite power, which is this weird hidden thing that is being fueled by Kindled Core, which turns your 63% fire resistances into Ignite power, your fire damage, which mine is currently only at 100%, but that turns into more Ignite damage as well. And we've also got Solar Bliss, which decreases the duration by 50, but increases the power by another 130. So we're already at a couple 100%. I don't really know, I haven't been keeping track, but there's 13% fire damage, more ignited enemies damage, more fire damage again, Soul Shatter build-up, ignited enemies, fire damage, ailment power. Ailment power will also help this damage, so the Ignite power is also ailment power, and fire damage, and ignited enemies. It's very easy to build into it, in your augments especially, so as you can see here, there's a lot of damage coming in from all of these augments. Fire damage, more might, which is stacking ailment power, and might, which is also stacking on the carnage. And then the force barrier even has might as well, which is fueling the void shell, and more ailment power and ignited enemies damage again. So that's a lot of fire and ignite power and ailment power going on in the background that you don't really see up front here. Like there's not really a lot of that going on up here other than like the banner. I have the Primal Plague Pennant. The secondaries are terrible, ignore them. Try to get fire damage and ignite damage obviously, but mine is unfortunately a void and curse. But that 63% ailment power plus 94% damage per ailment, like that's just a free 150% damage to your ignite power as well, on top of everything. So that's kind of the gist of this build and how it works. The Archons tier is kind of just there. I don't know, life stones are pretty irrelevant and you won't need them much with this build because you're just maxed out at your overhealth at all times. And yeah, you can be pretty lazy with this build. You just run straight into the most ridiculous heat you want, and as long as you're still swinging, you just keep swinging and swinging, you are fucking invincible pretty much. Like there's very few things in the game. You'd have to have like melee enemies do more damage and enraged and like a level 100 something or other. Like you'd have to actually scared on this build. As long as you're swinging, you're fine. You just build up polarity and soul shatter, build up, and then switch weapons. Everything's dead. Polarity, switch. It's really brainless. And I hope you guys enjoy. There's plenty of other videos on my fucking YouTube channel of like the gameplay of how this actually goes down with and without boons. I prefer using this one with boons just to see how ridiculously memey the numbers can get, but you can still one-shot bosses with this build, solo with no boons. So, I mean, might as well, right? But yeah, that's it for the broken Phoenix build. I know a lot of people be hating on this Phoenix build. Here's the stat sheets one more time. I know that some people are obsessed with this, even though the only thing in this build that really matters is crit chance and your resistances, and then the rest just comes from your ailment damage and ignite power, which doesn't really show up here. There's a lot of background damage going on here that is what is deceiving to most people, and they would just think, oh, you're doing no damage every time you swing your weapon, and it's like, yeah, cool, that doesn't matter, because when I switch weapons, everything is instantly dead and explodes. And so you're just kind of, this is just to build up damage, you're not actually doing. So many people cannot understand that. And they're really skeptical of it. Anyways, sorry, I've said that a couple times. I feel like I'm repeating myself. Here's my skill points sheet or whatever again. And my ascension points. This is pretty standard shit. I don't know. Oh. Might as well get that upgraded. But yeah. If anybody wants to see these choices as well. And I think I've covered just about everything. The reason I put this build on Phoenix is because her polarity attacks deal fire damage and inflict ignite. So this entire build is literally scaling around those two things. So might as well be Phoenix. That's pretty straightforward shit. And if you pop Archon Fury after switching to the Retribution Greatsword, or immediately before it, or right after it, or whatever, you'll get another 100% to ignited enemies. So, and then all of your attacks scale off fire damage. So it kind of just makes sense to be on Phoenix. Also, her augment tree is extremely useful for this build as well. It just kind of works out perfect with everything. So yeah, enjoy the showcase and the build. Please stop being all moody and negative people online trolling in my comments, you know, like being skeptical. Oh, this build's useless, this build sucks, wow, your boons are doing all the work. This build sucks solo, it's useless on trash ads. It's useless for every reason in the fucking world. This build sucks in general. Like, just build it right and use it like this, and honestly, the way that it's set up right now, like, it fucking works. And it's really tanky and safe. Like, those resistances are fucking insane. And with 53% crit chance, I mean, not to mention the fact that I have 25 overhealth gained, 46 overhealth gained, 43% overhealth gained. Every single crit is giving me like over 100% more than what that's showing. So every crit is like actually going to be 300 something overhealth at least. So yeah, Phoenix, crazy fucking ignite tanky ignite build. Crit, overhealth, resistances, and ignite power. It's a very weird build, but it's hilarious, and it one-shots bosses in front of your friend's eyeballs, and it's tanky. I don't see any problems with it. I hope you guys enjoy.